as well. She is alongside Leonie Bentveld, one of those super talented under-23s coming through, also now up on the front row, another fast starter too. And then, of course, the Telenet Superprestige leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, in incredibly good form. She's alongside Annick van Alphen, the Dutch woman in the colours of Cyclocross Reds. My name's Jez Cox. I have with me Helen Wyman again, just as I did at Learn Out on Friday, and we are about to bring you the elite women's race in the night time from Diegem. Looking into the eyes of the Telenet Superprestige leader, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. She has not won this race. The first ever winner of this race back in 2011 was Marianne Vos, who of course has started her cyclocross season now yesterday in Besançon, the latest round of the UCI World Cup. But this is the first and only televised night race that we are bringing you, and the final UCI cyclocross race of the year. Lights are out and time to go racing. Look for Inge van der Heide in the middle. She looks like she just clicks in a couple of gears. Sanne Cant in the Belgian champion skin suit has started well on the left as well. But it's going to be Leonie Bentveld once again getting a fine start down the middle. And Helen, you've spotted a crash in the back. Helen Wyman, hello. Not a nice moment to bring you in though.
No, there's a big crash down the back there. It didn't, I mean, it just, when you're going at this speed, it kind of, you just tumble and then everyone has to stop and put their bikes back together and then get going again, as we're seeing at the back of the field now. But back to the front, and this is a very different course to a lot of courses. It's a very fast course. All the riders have said there's actually not very much mud today, and as we can see Bentveld there at the front of the race, she really enjoys these conditions. Your start is important, but it's not really important, because as soon as you get out of this field, we're seeing a disaster here for Katja Viqueira from Canada, who unfortunately was taking a long time to get her chain back onto her bike. So yeah, so we're going into this bottom field, and the bottom field is where there's normally most of the mud, and today you can see it's slick in places, but it's not really crazy. The ruts are there. They're kind of historical ruts as well. We can see Anna Kay there in the British National Champs jersey taking the high line, which is a great line to take. And then they go back onto the road, and on that road section, it's very wide, it's very open, there's plenty of opportunities to move up. So these riders, there's always a lot of riders in this event. There was 100 on the entry, there's not 100 on the start line, but that's a lot of riders.
No, we so often talk about this, Helen, don't we, about the toll that particularly the Christmas cyclocross period can take, and we are seeing that a little bit at the moment as well. It is a great shame not to see Puk Pieterse here going for 3 in a row. She's won this race the last 2 years running, by the way, folks. Last year's second place finisher was Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. Therefore, the last winner in this field is, we have to say, an in-form Sanne Cant, isn't it, as well? We'll look to see whether she can get up with this leading group as well. But she was so close to the win in Learn Out on Friday, Helen, where you and I were commentating in the exact cross. Hopefully her knee has recovered well now, 3 days on. And this, would you think, be a good opportunity for her today? But we do, of course, have Lucinda Brandt and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. Inge van der Heide coming up there at the outside, I think hoping to catch them off guard. And there is Sanne Cant. As I was wondering whether she'd join the leading group, she is doing so.
Yeah, and this will be a bunch for the first couple of laps. It's really hard to shake people off on this course, because there's so many areas where riders can get back on and then take advantage. There's very few cross races where following a wheel and holding a wheel is advantageous, but this is one of them, because you've got such a long climb on the road up to the top zone of the course. And so Anna Kay on the back there, Helen Cluzel, Sanne Cant, just almost on, not quite on. There's a bit of a gap, and I would expect a podium to come from this front group of 4. Brand is super strong, we know that. Alvarado is very good at following a wheel. Inge van der Heide is really good on this course. She's had many podiums here as well, so I think this is where we're going to see this group coming from, and the podium coming from this group.
So they are the words of 10-time British champion, 2-time European champion Helen Wyman. My name is Jez Cox. We are looking at the floodlights lighting up this course. It's not throughout the history of the men's race, not always been a floodlit race, but originally, from my research, I didn't realise this, Helen, the original floodlit version of the men's race here was lit using balloons. I don't know what was inside the balloon, but I think they were, yeah, apparently. And it was very popular. It stuck. Now, Inge van der Heide wants to lead. She goes over the top of Lucinda Brand. She takes with her Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. And it's been a very fast start. I always ask this question. I like to pose whether there might be any riders in here sort of backing off and saving themselves for anything. We know that there are no UCI races tomorrow. There is, of course, we're bringing you coverage here at the Home of Cycling, these races. There's Basel on the 1st of January and Koksijde, both brilliant and very well known, very popular New Year cyclocross races. Both rounds of the X2O Badkammers Trophy, of course. Most of these riders will be there, Helen, but I wonder what incentive there is for it being the last, you know, all these riders will be up for it all the time, of course. That's why they're professional cyclocross riders, as you know. But I'm just thinking, this being the last racing day of the calendar year, well, does that give it a little bit of an extra incentive, or is it literally one race after the other? No context, just race, start line, finish line.
It being a super prestige definitely gives it huge importance. It's one of the major series in Belgium. Winning the super prestige is a really significant thing. And so, yes, this race holds a lot of historical value.
So into the sand for the first time. And Helen, I believe they've added either an extra or an elongated section of the sand pit in recent time to this course. Is that right?
Yeah, the sand pit here has always been something interesting. We saw it was a massive area of attacking in the past. And they seem to have moved the pit closer to the exit to the sand than in previous years. So this is one of the only races, one of the only 2 races that I can think of with a separate pit. So normally the pit is in the middle of the course and you pass the same pit on 2 different occasions. But in this race, there are 2 pits. So if you only run a 2-bike strategy, one you're racing on and one that you're changing with, then this is a really, really tough course because you have to leave your one bike in that pit, and then if you have a problem, it's an entire lap until you get back to it. And we actually saw that one of the first years that Shirin van Anrooy was up here at the front, and she had a puncture and she had to ride nearly 3/4 of a lap before she was able to change, and then she was completely out of the race. So if you're one of the top pros, you've got multiple bikes, it's not a problem. But if you're just traveling to Belgium, a lot of the Americans, the Canadians, you know, they have to make a decision as to which pit they're going to leave their bike in, because if they have a problem, they only have one spare bike usually.
Celine Del Carmen Alvarado leading over there with Annick van Alphen, and then Lily Bedford still there in 4th. Hannah Kant looking snappy in, I think, 5th place there as well. Anna Kay jumping. You wondered that on Friday, Helen, whether she would, and she's hopping neatly over there. Not the only one.
No, and so the planks at Super Prestige have a larger platform at the top of them. So they're almost probably 10, 15 centimetres wide at the top, and so it gives you a platform to go over, whereas some other ones are a lot narrower. And also the entrance to this is super fast, so you'll be able to keep your speed. And Anna Kay has the confidence to do it again today, whereas she didn't in Loon for ground conditions.
Helen, do you know, I've never talked planks with you. Just while we watch this first lap concluding, that might be something people wonder, actually. So when you say the Super Prestige planks, it sounds basic, but is it the same set of planks that are taken around from one race to the next, or does the organiser have to source their own planks? And therefore, are there differences in, and I'm not just talking depth of the plank, as you say, the flat section at the top, but also the height and spacing? Who decides all that? Who oversees it? And how do they differ?
Okay, so between series, it's a maximum of 40 centimetres. So you could have 20 centimetres, you can have 10 centimetres if you really want, but the maximum height should be 40 centimetres. It doesn't always work out that way because of ground position. So if you positioned it on a section which is uneven, it might actually be higher than 40 centimetres with tiny little gaps underneath. But the plank itself is that. In Super Prestige, I can't verify if they're exactly the same planks that go to every event, but these ones have they're light boards, and the adverts change on them, and because of that they're very slightly thicker. And as a rider looking at them, I would say it's the same ones that they take. It's the same gantry, it's the same equipment that the racers take from place to place. Little villages in Belgium have their own sets of the hoarding barriers, these metal barriers you can see across the finish line. But a lot of the stuff is just moved from place to place.
I'm sure you'd agree with me, Helen. Inge van der Heide has had a good start. I mean, she always has a good start, but she is detaching herself at the moment with Lucinda Brandt and Celine del Carmen Alvarado out front and trying to put the pressure on her. On them. We have seen her do this fairly often because of her good start. I think lots of fans will be particularly watching this from home, fingers crossed that she can make this one stick and take a real battle to Brandt and Alvarado, who have had that coming together so often already this season, haven't they?
Yeah, this is the kind of course that Van der Heijden absolutely loves. She loves the faster courses. She loves starts that have slightly technical sections. She's good on the descent. She's good on the climb. She's good at holding the wheel. So for me, we've seen her come into some really good form in the last week or so. She was really up there in Besançon yesterday. She was making herself known earlier on in the week in the other races. So she's always there or thereabouts, isn't she? We're so used to her taking that podium spot that is up for grabs, and yet she hasn't really done that this year. And now, I mean, she was third in Mole, so she definitely has really good form, and I think she is definitely on the podium for me. As for winning, I mean, she looks super strong right now.
Yeah, she started her season with the only win she's had this winter in the Kleberg Cross in Mechelen, C2 UCI race, not one that we covered here though on TV. And that third place, as you say, at Mole, just over a week or so ago on the Monday, was the kind of high watermark of the second part of her season, really. But it does show good form. 7th at Besançon yesterday, as you say. 6th on Boxing Day in Havre as well in the World Cup there. So 6th and 7th, very consistent. At the moment, she's just gapping ever so slightly Lucinda Brandt, and Celine del Carmen Alvarado, series leader, sits in. There are spots of rain, aren't there, Helen, on this lens here as it tracks over the top of the riders. It doesn't look particularly damp underfoot, and being down to about 3 degrees, I guess this is the kind of temperature where the ground sort of gets a bit harder as well, maybe. What do you reckon it would be like under tyre down there? And also, talking of tyres, what would you be going for on a day like this?
So Alvarado said in her pre-race interview that she is using the Griffo. It's a super fast course today. It's nowhere near as muddy as she's used to it being. And she, after the pre-ride, she's going to stick with it. So there is a little bit of rain on the cameras for sure. It's not crazy rain, so I don't think it will really alter the course conditions that much. It's already gone dark, so the dew point, the water from the temperature change from daylight to nighttime is already there. And honestly, in Belgium, it can rain at -2, and you know, it is brutal in that country. I've never ridden in rain that's so cold, only in Belgium. So most other countries it snows at that temperature. So yeah, I think it will make the top surface slightly slick, but it's not really picking up loads on the bikes. It's not really picking up loads on the tyres, and they're using the Griffos because so much of this course is hard packed ground, and the sections where you would require grip on those S-bends just after the start, that's where you'd be running anyway. So
there we go. These are our leading 3. Now Inge van der Heijden just on the back there in the colours of Helen Correndon, and it is Lucinda Brandt, the Dutch champion. Haven't seen her too often in that jersey of late because, of course, she's been wearing the World Cup leaders jersey in the World Cup races. She's back in that very fine-looking Dutch national champions jersey. Van der Heijden right in the middle. Behind them, as you're seeing populate on the screen every now and again, is this young woman, Leonie Bentveld of Bingo. Halshausen Bingo, and then Sanne Cant, who looks like she's starting to close in on Bentveld at the moment, Helen.
She definitely does. Bentveld is a brilliant rider. We've seen her had a World Cup podium last season, and this season she's it's been really tough this season. There's been a lot of riders that are capable of taking 3rd to 10th spot, and she's one of those riders as well. And so we know she's really strong. She was on the back of that group, but she just got gapped, and she is the youngest of these front 5 riders, and she's a grower in the sport rather than an instant hit like the likes of Fem van Empel.
Yes, 25 years of age, Inge van der Heijden, and back to the front again. Celine del Carmen Alvarado nearly getting to the far end of the sandpit. Let's watch Bentveld in there right now. Fantastic to see the crowd leaning over and enjoying the sandpit, as they will, I'm sure. The women's field is pretty well fleshed out. The men's field for the men's race, which comes up a little bit later after this, by the way, folks, doesn't include, and in actual fact, it's being billed as the most exciting Christmas race because it doesn't include Mathieu van der Poel or Wout van Aert, of course. Although the organisers, Helen, you'll have seen this, did go well out of their way to try and get Wout van Aert through basically offering to match whatever he wants in terms of appearance fee money. He's not here, though, and of course the men's race will be quite a bit later.
Yeah, I didn't actually see that, but that... Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money in cyclocross, and there's a lot of money in Belgian cyclocross, and the organisers of such a historic event with massive crowds. When you're here watching, everybody's drinking, which obviously the event organiser gets a cut from that money. There are so many people, and it's... I mean, as a spectator, sometimes it's a little bit too much with the alcohol, but as a racer, but as a spectator, I think that atmosphere is absolutely insane, and so they've got plenty of money to burn if they need to.
While we watch our leaders here, Helen, just explain to me what you mean. I know what you mean. There's an encouragement by the organiser for people, to enjoy themselves. It is New Year's Eve. I'm sure plenty of drinks will be consumed. What does that do for the riders, though? In terms of, the crowd around you, the smell, the sound, the attitude of the crowd as well. It's something I'm sure you'll have experienced lots of times.
Oh, it's brilliant when you're racing in the middle of the race and everyone's cheering, and everyone cheers for everyone. They're just making noise and enjoying themselves. And the cyclocross has lots of beer tents as well, so there's loads of atmosphere going around that. They have DJs and stuff like that, and the Belgians love their dance music. So it's a great atmosphere when you're racing. When you're out of the race course and people want photos with you and things, there's quite a lot of people leaning on you, and which is just a bit too much sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic race. It's absolutely a brilliant race, and it's worth it for the atmosphere alone. It looks like Inge van der Heijden here is just struggling a little bit at this point. She just seems to have lost that wheel. It might be because Brand made a really good attack at that moment, and now she's going to try and diesel away, because even Alvarado is struggling to hold on to her back wheel as we hit the line on lap 3.
Lucinda Brand hasn't won since the World Cup in Dublin on the 12th of December. Now that sounds a bit harsh, doesn't it, Helen, until you consider that since then she's been second, third, second. She is due a win, isn't she? Surely the Dutch champion.
She is. She absolutely is. This is a course where it's really tough to really get huge gaps, and I think what Alvarado will have seen from that is that Brand is really strong in that last section, and if she's really strong in that last section, it's before the finish. That's how you win a race. So what Alvarado needs to do is either go in ahead of her or make a move, because you have to jump on at the top of the steps, as you can see here, and in the back, Judith Kroll there, for the German rider in the green kit. You have to jump on at the top of the steps and then sprint to the finish line, and so you need to get your feet in. Sometimes,
wow,
just holds that upright.
Fantastic right-handed.
Sometimes what you would need to do is you need to attack on the run. So Alvarado is very good at running. She could run up there faster if she got in front, but you also need to remount quickest. You need a couple of steps to remount and get on your bike and start attacking straight away. And Brand knows that, and so Brand is going to try and make this course super, super hard the whole way round, so that Alvarado isn't there, that she's alone when she comes to the finish. The lovely line there by Bentveld.
Yeah, I was going to say, Leni Bentveld hanging on to the top line there. Surely, I'm not an entirely logical human being, but to my mind, you stay high, right? And then if you do slide down, as we're seeing Sanakant getting stuck between two ruts, then at least you start high, right? You wouldn't want to start low unless you were literally aiming to use the kind of the hoarding to hold yourself up on them.
Well, this line that we're watching Anna Kay do here, we actually saw Thibaut Nace do in the pre-ride, and you can, because historically those ruts are there, that this course, they've always used that zone section for years and years, and sometimes if the rut is good enough, it can hold you better. If you go to that top line, there isn't a rut there, and so there is a danger of sliding down. But Bentveld had really nice skills, really good lineup there, no problems whatsoever. So there is definitely a lineup there. It's whether you have the confidence to get that line, and also the speed at which you take it and things like that. So you've got to really think about what works best for you. You can't just ride something because somebody next to you is riding it.
These shots look fantastic, don't they? So uniquely Diegem, the bright floodlights, the dark background to it, the fans out on the roadside having secured their place, and we're back onto the road climb again, which takes us all the way back up to the course. Now, Inge van der Heijden's not miles behind. It's a handful of seconds, isn't it? She'll try and use this climb to get back in touch. Maybe hopeful, I guess, Helen, that these two start messing around a bit, and it actually... Inge van der Heijden's nearly on, but as soon as she's nearly on, Lucinda Brand goes again.
Yeah, these two aren't going to mess around on this course. They both are first and second in the Superprestige with only 2 points difference, and the point difference is only one for every place. So if Brand wins, Alvarado will still be, if Alvarado gets second and Brand wins, then she will still be leading the series. But you've got to get every place you possibly can in this. It's not like another series like the X2O Baghama Trophy where it's done on time, or the World Cup where there's a 5-point difference between first and second. Plus, I mean, everybody wants to win this race. It's a very traditional cross race in Belgium.
Yeah, well, the races, of course, come so thick and fast this time of year. As we're halfway through this race now, on lap 4, I'll just give people a quick rundown of the Christmas period. Close your ears if you haven't caught up with everything, but in a moment, just while we watch these two coming up this hill, I'll quickly run everyone through from Hulst, the first of that double UCI World Cup weekend, through to where we are right now. In terms of podiums and form, these two feature highly, of course. And we've just said goodbye to our Eurosport viewers for a moment while they go to a break, but I'll talk the digital viewers through it so that those of you who are watching on Max and on Discovery Plus feel up to date with everything, just in case you need a reminder. It all started this Christmas period with that double World Cup weekend with Hulst and Zonnevar, and it was, of course, Marie Schreiber getting her first World Cup win on the Saturday in Hulst ahead of Lucinda Brandt and Puk Pieterse, who was making her debut there, and a strong debut too. Cyclocross season debut, I mean, starting her cross season. Following day, it was Celine Del Carmen Alvarado who took the win ahead of Zoe Backstedt and Lucinda Brandt, of course, on the podium, as she was in all these races, back into the sand again. And then we had wins for Celine Del Carmen Alvarado the following day in Mol, and then Havre on Boxing Day. It was the return of Fem van Empel, who also won in Besançon yesterday. The world champion Fem van Empel not here, so again, without Fem van Empel here, a wonderful opportunity for, by the looks of it, Lucinda Brand to really turn it on. And that was a big effort out the sandpit by the Dutch champion too.
That was an incredible effort through the sandpit, and then as she got out of the sandpit, she could hear that Alvarado was not there immediately on her, and she just got out of the saddle and attacked hard. And now, after that, she's looking to see if Alvarado's come back to her, which she has, but Alvarado will pay for that effort later on in the race.
On the road there, of course, using that opportunity to pick up the speed. This is Leonie Bentveld in 4th place by herself, as Sanne Cant is as well. Big gaps around her too. She was so close to the leaders. There is Sanne Cant entering the sandpit right now, the Belgian champion. By the way, Helen, we were talking about Sanne Cant, of course, on Friday in Lernout. What I hadn't realised was that at the moment she has opted, or said she is not going to ride the Belgian championships. We talked about that on Friday, didn't we? And I was wondering what it might mean for her were she to win the Belgian champs and then retire and not be able to wear the jersey next year. But apparently she's not doing it.
Yes, I seem to remember her saying that as well when she said that she would be retiring at the end of the season. I mean, ultimately, it's a good opportunity to go training for the World Championships, to try and get a decent result there. She will be selected for Worlds should she wish to go. And she's 16th in the world ranking right now. It's not really going to affect her world ranking that much. She'll lose 100 points, but it will still keep her where she'd want to be for the Elite World Championships. So, yeah, I mean, I think probably for a rider of her historical 15 wins, I don't think she'd ever enter it not wanting to win it.
No, and then also I think, and I haven't heard her say anything like this, but it's maybe it's respect to the jersey as well, wanting that jersey to be worn the following season all the way through to the next Nationals too, which seems neat and tidy after those 15 wins, I guess. Welcome back to our Eurosport viewers. We've had a short break. We are eating into the night here in Diegem for the Superprestige race. Round 6 of 8, with just 2 more races to come after this in Hullum and Middelkerke. The final race, of course, the North Sea Cross in February, right near the end of the season. And here we are, the final UCI televised race of the year, and wouldn't you know it, the 2 most consistent riders of the year, Lucinda Brandt and Celine del Carmen Alvarado, leading Inge van der Heide, who is there as they come back towards the line again. Van der Heide is still not out of this, Ellen Wyman, is she?
Not at all, and that's the section I was talking about with the steps, where you go up the steps, remount, and then you're coming into the finish. And we saw there, Alvarado went in behind Brandt and she came out in front of her. So that's the section where Alvarado will have the confidence, if they're together, that she could come out with first, and whoever sprints first from that corner will win the race. Of those 2, that's what will happen. So Brandt will need to, you can see them sliding out now. I think it is starting to affect the ground is starting to get a tiny bit slick. Equally, I don't think you'd still change your tyre pressures at this point, because you just put a leg out there and then this section you're running anyway. So I wouldn't change my tyres simply because of those 2 corners. You would choose your tyres for the majority of the course.
Is that a decision, Helen, that's always made by the rider, or is there information going to the pits? And if I guess it's a bit different for everybody, but have you ever seen a situation where the pit makes the call, having watched conditions, said, no, you're coming in next lap tough?
No.
Well, I'm just wondering.
No, it's not like Formula One racing or anything like that. It's, so you are right that people that work in the pit are helping you, and those people are usually maybe family, maybe team members, people that you've been working alongside for a very long time. They know you very, very well, and so you can collectively make that decision before the race. During the race, you're the one riding those tyres, you're the one riding those pressures, and so you're the one that makes the decision in the race. And you can shout to your pit crew, I want a more aggressive tread, or put the Limus on, whatever it is that your code wording is, or your information, how you pass this information. And you can change them, but that always comes from the rider, that never comes from the pit during the race. But like you say, it can come before. When they're doing the pre-ride, they can have discussion with, crash there.
Oh, I think that's De Beer. Jamie De Beer. Yes, it is, of the Heisermat Rad team. Going fully sideways there. Thankfully, back up and going again. She's inside the top 10 as well. I think De Beer currently is in 7th right now, and that gap there looking like it's opening up a little bit more as we follow that cable cam shot over the top of Alvarado and Brandt as they continue on this lap. I think it looks like it's getting slicker, Helen. That was indicative of that. Watch this corner here for these 2. Definitely looks shinier. There's been some bit more precipitation, I think, but we can't quite see where it's happening on the course as we look back across the football pitch.
It's definitely getting a bit slicker. Like I say, there's so much hard ground on this course, though, that I think you'd be silly to change your tread. For the first time in a long time, all of the women have been riding up the bank that they're about to come to at the end of this road section, and I haven't seen that for a couple of years, so it does show how dry it is here compared to some years where we've seen some really deep mud.
Inge van der Heide once again nearly on the road. In fact, this time she is, and yeah, she wants to have a go, doesn't she, Helen? Not just latching up. I think that looked like she was ready to try and overlap and go again there.
She does always try to get that second wheel, so sometimes it looks like she's attacking, but it looked to me like she was ready to attack, and then she was on the wrong side, though, so she was potentially just coming back to the group and making her presence known.
Oof. Leonie Bentveld really milking the grip of her tyres around that corner there. Looked like she just corrected a little bit. This is Jamie De Beer changing a shoe by the looks of it, so in that crash, presumably, she's managed to lose her or break her ratchet by the looks of it, Helen.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a rush to get her the shoe, but they're pretty quick to get on, aren't they? And quite often that happens. I mean, it happened to Mathieu van der Poel at the Road World Championship, so it can happen to anyone.
Does everyone have spare shoes in the pits?
Yes, you do. At the top level, you always have spare shoes in the pits. It's just something that goes in the mechanics' bags. We also
See, that
saw
bit-
Michael Van Tornout change in Bessenkong yesterday. He had to change his shoe as well. So it is quite, particularly if you have the ratchet system on your shoe, the boa, then that, yeah, you definitely would have spare pair of shoes.
That's not the first time Van Tornout's broken his shoe this year either. I can remember another occasion earlier in the season where he did exactly that and went on to win too. So, yes, we often get asked, is cycling at the top level, at this level, of course, it's slightly different, but you and I both want cyclocross and cycling in general to be as accessible as possible. So please, if you're watching this and you're thinking about doing your local cyclocross race, you don't have to have 2 pairs of shoes. You don't even, Helen, do you? You have to have 2 bikes.
No,
you can do cross on 1 bike.
Yeah, definitely. There are even cross races where it's only 1 bike within a series. So, yeah, you can get by with 1 bike for sure. And if you love it, then you might want to get another one next year. But, like, genuinely, you can race really, really well on 1 bike at this level.
Of course they love it. Of course they love it. Inge van der Heide in bike change and keeping those 2 in her sights right now. Now it looks like it's Linda Carmen Alvarado starting to turn the screw. This could go down to the line like this between these 2, Helen, as it has done so often already this season. I need to get the stats up somewhere for the head-to-head between these 2. It has happened so often. And here we are again.
And Alvarado loves Superprestige Series races. She's leading it right now. Last year she was really up there. Brand loves it too. Brand's won the series before. It kind of, a rider tends to be more towards the races in one series than another. And Brand and Alvarado are both definitely Superprestige, whereas you might say the likes of an Emperor would be more X2O Bad Camera Trophy. Those series suit her more. That's just how it seems to work out most years.
Well, Celine del Carmen Alvarado of Alpecin de Koenig has won every round of the the Telenet Superprestige series so far. It is only Rudevorde, Overijse, the second round that Lucinda Brandt won. On that occasion, Celine del Carmen Alvarado was 4th. But other than that, those 2 have been very close together all the way through this series, and at the moment they are exactly that, on track. Helen, I haven't yet seen how many laps in total they're doing. I didn't see it the first time through. I lost pictures briefly and literally didn't see the lap board go up. So I think they've only got 2 laps to go, or something like that. I don't know if you're further up on that than me. I didn't quite see the lap board.
No.
We'll check it. We'll have a look this time through. Don't panic, everyone at home. It won't be this lap, but we're not far off, methinks. Alvarado clipping in a little bit quicker there. Again, just getting that little gap on Lucinda Brandt.
And
right, Sorry, Helen, go on.
And these are all the sections where you will see Alvarado testing Brand, because this is the bottom zone before you get to the finish line. And she's going to be testing, where can I be better? Where can I make a move? Where can I attack? As we come past a lapped rider here who's coming taken out of the race. And Brand is doing the same thing. And this is the rutted running section before you come into the finish. And again, this is such an important part of the race, because you need to get your feet in first. You need to accelerate first. You need to do that sprint in order to win if you're together with another rider.
So, on the last lap, those steps are going to be pretty important, aren't they? Getting unclipped and onto them quickly, stepping up quickly and then jumping back on. I guess the steps become a very important feature of this finish, Helen.
Yeah, the remounts at the top of the steps is crucial if you're in a group.
Here we go, 2 laps to go. Penultimate lap right now. Van der Heide still in 3rd. Not looking as likely this time to get back on. She's had to work hard every time they've gone through. They know how slippery that corner is. Both of our 2 leading riders, Alvarado and Brandt, using their left foots just to steady themselves and scoot at the same time. So as well as steadying themselves against Helen, also trying to propel themselves a bit more.
Yeah, it's very much to stop them. If they start to slide out too much, then you can use the studs on the front of your foot to slow you a little bit. And that's what they'll be doing on those corners. They're tripoding, so they're changing their centre of gravity to make it slightly wider so that it's easier to get around that corner, basically. And then they stick a foot back in and then accelerate. But Alvarado is accelerating way quicker than Brand is today. But Brand is still maintaining her momentum really, really well. Alvarado's doing that super fast, that line.
Yes, Lucinda Brand on the back foot at the moment, and Alvarado just looking that little bit more sprightly towards the end of this. Possibly some revenge. Let's not forget that Lucinda Brand was second in the World Cup in Besançon, France yesterday, 1 place behind the winner, Fem Van Empel. And Celina Carmen Alvarado was in 6th, 1 place behind the great, arguably the greatest racing cyclist of all time, Marianne Vos, in 5th place yesterday.
And when you watch the race, it didn't seem like Alvarado had a problem yesterday. She just wasn't quite there. But at the same time, we know she's riding really, really strong. So we know that she's capable of this. We know that Brand has a devastating last lap and a half. And we're coming into that danger zone now.
Yes, we are.
Alvarado hasn't been able to drop her to that point. But Alvarado does know that if she's able to hold on to Brand's wheel, she does have that acceleration on the stairs, and she does have the ability to just use her technical skills to whip into those sections before, so she could have a huge advantage. But equally, Brand is looking really, really strong. It's tough to see if Brand will be able to drop Alvarado, even with that devastating last lap and a half.
Yeah, Helen Alvarado's just had a bike change there. I didn't see any reason for it. The bikes aren't getting covered in mud. Could that have been a tyre change due to these increasingly slippery conditions?
It could absolutely have been. I think it was just simply over time the bikes are picking up some mud. You can't see the blue of the frame on the down tube of Brand's bike, and a lot of riders have been doing changes. Also, with that tiny sand pit and some mud mixed together, your gears and your chain quite often go really clunky and make that awful noise that we all know is kind of noise. And so sometimes you want that changed as well, and it could simply be also your pedals. When you've got sand and mud combined, it forces the sand into the pedals, covers it in mud, and then you can't always get your feet in. So there could be a combination of reasons for sure.
I love the way you call it a tiny sand pit. It's still a reasonable one, but you're right. By sort of Zonhoven mole standards, yes, tiny. More than enough to be getting their teeth into. It actually looks quite deep as well, I thought, looking at it. Maybe it's the angle we're seeing it from as well. Where's the deepest sand pit you've raced through, Helen? I mean, deepest or like suckiest, as I call it. You know, the one that just absolutely slams the anchors on. Can you remember any that have been particularly...
As in not a sand race, as in just a sand pit?
Well, no, so I'm thinking like deliberate manufactured ones maybe, or...
Probably in Rudavoorde. They always have these sucky sand pits, and they quite often do them uphill as well. So there's no way you're going to get through it.
No.
Probably Rudavoorde. Because all of the other sand races, Middelkerk, Zonhoven, Lille, Oostmalle, Coxide, all sand races, so they've got some really sucky sand sections.
Yeah, I'm glad you've picked up my term. You know what I mean by that, like just draggy, immediate brakes on. Yes, Helen mentioning some very exciting upcoming races. Coxide is the next of them, of course, on Friday the 3rd, the X2 Badkamers Trophy from Coxide. Of course, there's Baal on the 1st, New Year's Day, as well, but Coxide are one of those that uses natural sand in the sand dunes, of course, unlike quite a lot of these other courses that have deliberate purpose-built sand pits that are topped up as well during the course of the season. Here we go. Brand, oh my gosh, that front wheel all over the place, very well controlled. Let's watch the style of Alvarado through here too. It almost seems better in the floodlight. I think the sand looks better in the floodlight because it really catches the light as it flicks up those sandy roosters either side of the wheels, Helen. I love it.
Yeah, you can see here how when Brand tries to go through, she's the leader of the race, and she's probably the first person to have ridden that sand pit in about 30 or 40 riders. So for her, there isn't a line there anymore, whereas for Alvarado, immediately following Brand, if she's able to stay in that line, she has the slight advantage that there's a new line laid down for her immediately. Because when you're running it, you kick up all of the lines, and in sand, you need a rut, because the rut is the hard packed ground, and that's how you get through the sand pit faster.
Cinderbrand having the sense there just to shout politely but assertively to the lapped rider she's just about to catch. We just see Anna Kay going through to the right as we watch Inge van der Heide still in 3rd, but now having been distanced by our 2 leaders. Brand absolutely committed to this and using exactly what Helen Wyman said, that devastating last lap and a half. Look at the gap back to Alvarado there, who herself had looked so good when she put in her attack.
Yeah, she really could not continue that constant effort that that Brand put down. And we all know when Brand does that last lap and a half, she is so good and she is so strong, and she can just maintain that power for the entire time. And this course will suit her for that, because there's a long road drag. She's just the same really as Alvarado in this next section we're coming into. This section where we're seeing Inge van der Heijden here is the traditional Diegem through a back alley, always included in the race section. And it's not 3 meters wide, but the UCI have allowed it because it's just there. There's no other way to get through it unless you take someone's back garden.
Helen, only you and die-hard cross fans, of which there are many, many, of course, who watch every single race we bring everyone at the home of cycling here, would know that a little back alley to the northeast of Brussels in Diegem is such an important place in world sport as well. Isn't it funny? Just a little gap between two houses could be such an important and iconic place.
Yeah, it's so iconic. It really is. And it's right next to the airport in Brussels. You can go there anytime and have a look and pretend you're a cross rider.
Yeah, I think we need to get a little tradition going. If it is that bit less than 3 meters, standing with a hand on each building either side, and just filling the void of cyclocross. What would you call it? Stardust, something like that. That's the wrong term. Anyway, back onto the steps, and the bell is ringing for Lucinda Brand. Let's see the gap back to Alvarado. There she is. She's clipped in. Well, I'm going to ask you right now, Helen Wyman, can Lucinda Brand get that first win since the Dublin World Cup? Is she going to do it?
Yes, she is. Alvarado has gone. Alvarado is not coming back. She cannot close this gap. It would take Brand to make a huge mistake, which we don't want her to do, but we know how good she is on that last lap. Every single race, her fastest lap is one of those last laps.
Looking back along that straight, crucially now, and I always think this might be important, Helen, getting out of sight, out of mind. In most of these medium-length straights now, Alvarado can't see Lucinda Brand, and that surely must help mentally for Brand to be out of sight.
Yeah, and you've been dropped for a reason, Alvarado got dropped because she just could not hold that effort that Brand was making. And yeah, Brand can make a mistake. These kind of sections, the sand pit she could make a mistake in and crash, I guess, but once you're gone, you're gone. You're already riding at maximum level. You're already at your limitations.
Wow.
And you start to make mistakes. You can see that she's riding above her ability, her physical ability right now, and she makes a mistake. And Brand is not. Brand is super in control. She's so strong in this situation. She's like a little diesel engine, and she's capable of holding this off to the finish.
Well, listening to the crowd, of which there are many down there at the trackside in Diegem, can't hear too much difference in their support of these two Dutch riders. Lucinda Brand, obviously a little bit more experienced, certainly older at the age of 35, and Celine Del Carmen Alvarado only now 26. But Brand's certainly not, despite being 35, not showing any signs at all of slowing down, Helen. If anything, still at her very best, I would say, this year in the cross.
Yeah, she's incredibly strong. I think research has shown that women can be at their peak until in endurance sports, which cyclocross is technically an endurance sport, can be at their peaks between 28 and 34. So, yeah. She's probably just at the edge of her peak now. And as a man, I think it's a bit younger, but I don't see why she couldn't keep going for a long time. The likes of Katarina Nash has won a World Cup at 40. Katie Compton has won World Cups well into her late 30s. I don't see a reason why she couldn't still be as good as she is for a good three years or so.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't want her going anywhere because she's been such an animator, such a regular animator, particularly this season indeed.
I still had 2 World Cup podiums at 37. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I do think women's sport, you can be a lot older.
For sure. We've definitely seen that on the road, haven't we, as well. So, here she is, Alvarado. She looks, to my eyes, really good mid-race. But this just gradual winding of the pressure, as is her way, Lucinda Brand, that sort of extremely potent diesel engine that serves her so well on the road in a way that Celine Del Carmen Alvarado's talents haven't quite transferred in that way on the road, despite the amount of road racing she does do with the Phoenix de Koenig team. Lucinda Brand today making all of her qualities count in fast conditions with very little gloopy mud to tack onto the bike. Would have been interesting to see Puk Pieterse here with them today, I guess, Helen. And you did mention earlier, by the way, Shirin van Anrooy. I can't wait to see her back. I'm sure you'll agree. Such an exciting young talent. It would have been lovely to have her all the way through this season. We'll just mark that again because I haven't mentioned her in a while. She is, to my mind, the most... So for me, anyway, the most sort of missed woman at the top level, because she was looking so good the last 2 years that she would have moved on another notch. She's been injured, she's coming back, isn't she? And will start her road season, no doubt, when ready.
Yeah, I think it would be really interesting to see where she is, and I think it would be really interesting to see her back. It would be nice to see Yara Castelline back in as well. Her technical skills are brilliant, and particularly in the sand. And now we're losing Kant. We have no sand experts. And, you know, I think... yeah, I mean, people get injured, people get sick, and you know, you have to choose your priority. And for Van Anrooy, road is her priority. For Brand, now cyclocross is her priority. And why shouldn't it be? She's incredibly successful at it. And you can make a fantastic career as a woman in cyclocross. So why would you not?
Absolutely. So, Alvarado almost certainly knows now that she's settling for second, as she is not so very often within sight of Lucinda Brand. Is Inge van der Heide coming back, Helen?
I think we're getting the camera shortening it, but Van der Heiden's not gone for sure. And we know that, well, they weren't both in the sandpit together last lap, but Alvarado is aware.
Yes,
as she just looks behind her. You can hear the noise. When you're racing in these conditions, the rider, you hear the noise for you. There's a quiet, and then you hear the noise of someone else. So if that noise is very quickly on again, then you know, okay, well, someone's behind me. So you see her looking behind. You can also, as she's riding past the pit, the mechanics and staff for Inge van der Heiden could be shouting something to her, like, you're going to catch her, go faster, or something. And obviously, Alvarado hears that and thinks, okay, well, I've got to get a move on at this point. And it's downhill all the way from that pits, all the way down here, and still further down to that bottom field. And then the section there, we know that Alvarado has a lot of confidence in that section.
Well, Lucinda Brand through the sand for the final time, over the barriers for the final time, and all she now has to negotiate is that little unclip and the steps up to take her to the finish line. Alvarado, we've already seen looking round. That's very clear that she knows she is making sure she's hanging on to second place. There's only been one round. She hasn't won so far of the Superprestige Telenet series. That was round 2 in Overijse. But today she will be looking, well, by the looks of it, settling for second. Here is Lucinda Brand, very close to those steps now, over the bridge which has been added. 2 bridges on this course now. It's been an addition since last year, mainly, Helen, from what I hear, to allow the spectators to get around the course a bit more freely, which is really what those bridges are for. I know they're spectacular for us to look at, but they are also a neat way of making sure that spectators can actually get inside and outside a big circular course.
Yes, when you have this many spectators at an event, you have to close the crossing points. And so the only way for a spectator to move from one area to the other is underneath these bridges. And when you have this many fans, it's so important that they don't get in the middle of the course. Oh, no, problem for Inge van der Heiden.
No. She did have just about enough gap. We haven't seen Bentveld for a while. It was Leonie Bentveld who was chasing her then. Sanne Cant. Can she hang on to third? She looked like she was fiddling with both the derailleur, the rear derailleur, and the chain ring there too. We'll keep a little eye on that. But meanwhile, turning into our finishing straight, the woman who has 4 wins to her name, hang on a second, it's going to be 5. Lucinda Brand is smiling, and she deserves this. My goodness me, how many times has she been second and third these last few weeks? It's the final televised UCI cyclocross of the year. And the winner, a very appropriate one, Lucinda Brand, the Dutch champion, winner of the Telenet Superprestige round in Diegem. Fantastic. And now we see our second place coming to the line. We did wonder for a while, I think, whether there would be a head-to-head, a close one into the finishing straight between Lucinda Brandt and series leader Celine Del Carmen Alvarado. But Alvarado doing more than enough to hang on to it. Having said that, Helen, as you said, there was only a point between them going into this, so I might hold my horses on that one and see how the series standings go after this. But she has won 4 rounds. That's a second place now to her name.
So Alvarado has 72 points and Brand had 70 coming into the event, and so Brand would have taken 1 back, so it would be 1 point difference between first and second.
Well, she has hung on. She's managed to get the chain back on, or untangled as it was, and Inge van der Heide, who looked so good early on today, up there with Alvarado and Brandt, has ridden well. Not far off them either. She's lost time, though, with that technical issue there, but she takes another fine third place here. And her first podium of the Telenet Superprestige this season for Inge van der Heide. 48 minutes of racing. Fairly average for these elite women in terms of length. It's always somewhere between something like that and 50. I know you were mentioning to me the other day, I think, Helen, about the idea is if we have junior women racing. Looking down the start list, I don't think we did have any junior women in racing. I might be wrong. To take the race time distance, the race time down. Anyway, we're now at about 50 minutes of racing, and we're looking at Leonie Bentveld, who was, thankfully for Inge van der Heide anyway, far enough behind to allow Inge van der Heide to deal with that problem. I don't think anyone, no matter who you're supporting, no one wants to see a technical issue scupper a podium for someone on the last lap when you're so close to the finish. That's right, Helen, isn't it? It's all...
No, yeah, you don't want that to happen. I mean, we've seen it. We saw the likes of Christelle Ferrier-Brunet taking... Oh, no, sorry, Lucy Chanel Lefebvre taking the 3rd spot from Katerina Nash in Louisville Worlds when Nash lost her chain and was scooting across the line to take 3rd, but she didn't get 3rd. She ended up 4th. But, yeah, I mean, it's spike racing, isn't it? You know, you're going to go for... If you're not prepared to beat the person in front of you, you're not going to be in the race. So for Kant, this is a really great result. Another 5th place, like a really solid performance, but... Also, for her, every race is emotional, but this is a big one. She is a fan of the Super Prestige series. She's won it multiple times, and she's fought for an actual overall series for the women before, whereas in the past we used to race at 10:30 in the morning. We weren't really considered that important, and then we didn't even have an overall, and she fought for it. We got it, and she won the first year. So, like, everything means something to a rider that's been in the sport that long.
This is Letizia Borghesi, the Italian rider for EF Education Cannondale, in 7th. Anna Kay will be in 8th, the British champion.
It's another solid result by Anna. She's had some great results and she's taken good opportunities. And today is a really big series race, and I think that's one of her best results in a series race this year too.
Yeah, she's looked good. She looked good at Learn Out on Friday as well. Anna Kay just getting back closer to where we expect her. I can't believe for 1 second it's the curse of the British Champions jersey, Helen. You'll know that, having won it 10 times. But both Anna Kay and Cameron Mason, both the British champions this year, having tougher starts to the season, and both of them now starting to look better and better as we go through this Christmas period. Yeah,
as we see another British rider coming in, Ella McLean-Howell. I don't think there's a curse on the national champs jersey at all.
No,
no, not at all. I won plenty of bike races while in it. So
absolutely, you had to. You're in it so often. This is Jamie De Beer coming in just outside the top 10. De Beer, we saw her wipe out sideways earlier, and Ellen Clausel, the French champion, riding for the Van Rysel team, just outside the top 10. 12th place now for her. It was Martha Truyen was the other Alpecin de Koning rider in 10th. And then coming in behind them, this is Judith Kroll, the German rider for the Heisemat Rad team. They've done well today. Lots of women in that green Heisemat kit with the red helmet. Up in that top 15 riders now. Kroll in 13th. And we get a chance to look back at the winner. 5th win of the year for Lucinda Brandt. And a nice way to end the calendar year, if not quite the cyclocross year. A lot more racing yet to come. And I have to say, looking at the way the season's gone so far for these elite women, Ellen, I think this year's World Championships in Liévin in France are going to be really exciting, because I think at the beginning of the year, the end of last year, they said, well, Fem van Empel was going to go on to win multiple World Championship titles. I don't think it's going to be quite so simple this year.
I think the course will suit Fem van Empel very well, actually. I think it will also suit some of the other riders. Peters, it would definitely suit. Zoe Baxter, it would actually. Voss. The Levine is very much like the